particularly we spend more than 10 minutes just to set the computer's thing. All right. I think last time we still had to continue to read the Chinese version of the mindfulness on the body. Okay, I think last time we have finished page 14. Not finished. I mean, we did read the page 14 from the items, the mindfulness on the body from the 11 items. Yeah, we read that one.
No, we stopped at 11 last time.
Yeah, that's why we said that we finished the 11th.
Oh, we finished, yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Reviewing, that was the reviewing.
Yeah, the reviewing part, because actually, even though this reviewing part, it might be sound very strange in the Pali version, because the Pali version doesn't have the reviewing part. But you do find this in the Pali Sutta. Also, I think it's called Panchagiga. So I think it's in Panchagiga in Anguttara Nikaya. So you also have this called the Panchagiga Samadhi. Okay, that means someone who have this so-called the 5 right concentration, Panchagiga Samadhi. It's also mentioned someone who also just like this one, the start almost like started from I number the 4 jhana, about the 4 jhana. After the 4 jhana and the 5th one actually, they also mention this is the let me see. So yeah, they also call, but they call this as a Pajjavekana Nimitta. Okay, the Pali word Pajjavekana actually means reviewing also. So like or retrospection or something, depending on how to translate. So Pajjavekana Nimitta, but they also call it as a Nimitta, as a sign. So I think it reads like this, the translation in Anguttara Nikaya. Just give you some idea which is similar to the 11th. He say, again, monk, among well grasps the reviewing side, well attends to, well reflect on, and well penetrate it with wisdom. Monks, just as one might review another, or someone standing might contemplate another sitting, or someone sitting might contemplate another lying down. So monks, among well grasps the reviewing side, well attends to, well reflects on, and well penetrated with wisdom. Okay, that's the Pali version. In the Anguttara Nikaya, in this what we call this numerous discourse. Okay, numerical discourse. Okay, because the discourse is sometimes very short discourse, just like the connected discourse, but the difference is that that been arranged not with the context, but arranged according to the number. Number 1 Dhamma, number 2 Dhamma, number 3 Dhamma, like 2 Dhamma, 3 Dhamma, 4 Dhamma. So this is, as you can imagine, since was arranged, this is called the 5 reviewing Dhamma, the 5 reviewing the right concentration. So certainly this will be arranged in the number 5 Dhamma. Okay, like that. Okay. So we have explained that already. In other words, mean after people having the 4 jhana, which is actually sound a little strange, and this is what actually the Buddhaghosa, the famous the Pali commentator, were also did mention that the 4 jhana should not be put it here. Okay, that's the commentator's ideas. But anyway, but we discussed that already, and so it's a little bit strange because, if you want to very strictly put this, the contemplation of the body, on mindfulness on the body in this regard, but then you mention about the jhana, which is actually highly only related to the mind, mental, right? So we discussed that already, so that of course if we understand, what does it mean by the contemplation as a body? So you take the body, actually take the body as a kind of a person, okay? That consists of so basically the body regarded, the body here understand as a person's mean consists of the eyes, ears, and soul with the 6 senses, right? So that's mean by this the body, and then anything with the object of the body. No, I forgot to put this also. So And then anything that with regard to the body, the object of the body, so that will be as understand as external body, which is a very different from the commentary ways of understanding. The internal mean refer to oneself, external refer to the other person. Okay.
Hey, reviewing is not the same as contemplation, right?
No, the word at least in Pali, say even the Chinese.
What would be the root of it?
No. I mean, you have to understand the word in Pali maybe the best. Actually, the Pali, it's usually when you use the word Pajavekana, let me just find the word here first. Pajavekana. Usually this term is been using like, when you know something, and then after like somebody having attainment, right? And then he had to review how did it come to attainment. So that's mean by reviewing. But of course, that's how the Pali term is. In Chinese, I'm not sure because we don't have the Sanskrit version so far. At least I don't know. I didn't check it. I didn't find it yet. So that we don't know what is the Sanskrit word they've been using. But the Chinese is only purely just saying that you're sitting and then you're observing. While you're sitting, observing people, just like when a person, it doesn't mean that you're sitting and observing people are walking, but it just like somebody while sitting, observing other person while they're lying down, right? So it's almost like I sit here, but I can see other people are sitting there. Or I sit here, I can see other people are lying down, which it looks like a different posture, but actually, because it's sitting and lying down are two different postures, but you still can be able to sit there, but you can see other people in a different posture. So that's just want to say, when you're doing meditation at that stage, so you can just sit in here, but you can observe yourself as sitting here. Okay, when you're lying there, you can observe yourself lying there. But that observing is almost like, I mean, this is my explanation. But of course, might be some people will say, I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that, whether it can be. I mean, I'm not talking about a possibility because I want to say is that has to, after this, we need to discuss the next one, the organs, right? About the body organs. But the traditional way of teaching is not like you are sitting here and then you're observing people lying there and then to see the organs. But it's actually is that it's when you're sitting here, you're observing you're sitting here, you know you're sitting here, and then after you're able to penetrate the body, and then you start to see the organs. That's why I would not interpret it as like you're sitting here and then you're observing yourself lying there, okay? Hello? You didn't get my meaning? Or you do you know what we are talking about?
Yes, so you're saying just, you're focusing on the internal, but not watching yourself watching, not externally. But
Yeah, it's not really like you're sitting here and then you're thinking about yourself was lying down. Okay, all right. Because that's my understanding, that because that has to go with the next one, the I-12, okay? Let's just read the I-12 first, okay? Again, among
contemplates the body with regards to the body, among
follows his body to lie, paying attention to, as he likes, all dislikes,
from head to foot, see various things full of impurity. In this body of mine there are head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, rocks, smooth, thin skin, flesh, sinews, bones, heart, kidney, liver, lungs, large intestines, small intestines, spleen, stomach, lumps of feces, brain, suprabone, tears, sweat, knots, fetal, pus, blood, fat, marrow, saliva, gallbladder, and urine. Just as a container is filled with some seeds, and a person with unimpaired eyes can see them all clearly, namely rice, millet seeds, and the seeds of turnips and mustard. So too a monk follows his body to lie, The paying attention to
as he likes or dislikes, so man and to fruit, see various things full of impurity. In this body of mine there are head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, brows, thin skin, flesh, sinews, bones, heart, kidneys, liver, lungs, large intestines, small intestines, spleen, stomach, lungs, feces, brain, cerebellum, tears, sweat, snots, fetal, pus, blood, fat, marrow, saliva, gallbladder, and urine. Thus a monk contemplates the internal body with regards to the body, contemplates external body with regards to the body, and establishes mindfulness on the body, assessing, knowing, seeing, understanding, and penetration. This is what is meant by monk contemplates the body with regard to the body.
Okay, now, so they're according to the Chinese version, so they're about 16, I think it's 14 steps, right? And contemplation of the body with regard to the body. So now we come to the steps of number 12, okay? So it is believed that, and also in the traditionally, but of course, I mean, if you look at the modern, when I say the modern means the modern books writing about maybe with the technique. So like in Thailand, usually they prefer that while you're sitting, you meditate, and then you start to think, that's my hair, that's my nail, this is my organ. And then sometimes we also divide it into 4 parts. Some parts belong to like with the water kind, some parts belong to like just purely the certain organs and so on. But anyway, we'll talk that because that's the party system. But here, we will mention that more while we are reading the Pali text. So here, but I mean that's the important is that some people think that is a way that you sit, and then you think that I have a hair, I have poles, the skin hair, and then I have got a different type of skins, and then I have liver, I have pus, I have this saliva, and so on, right? And all 31 parts here. But of course, in the Visuddhimagga, I mean the path of purification mentioned 40, but here mentioned 31. And however, that's one way of meditate, and that's how they contemporarily, some books, if you read it, they will say that you sit, and in order that you start to not attach to your body. Basically, you start to understand the impurity of the body, okay? And, but then another tradition, especially it looks like the Chinese, when you look at after the 4 jhana, and then after having the 4 jhana, and then you're able to review the physical body, like while you're sitting, you still can observe yourself as sitting there, for example. And then, and usually if you just constantly observe the body for quite a long time, and then your body will become like a light, very bright, okay? And then the very bright light, and then if you really look, when the bright light becomes very stable, and so when you observe that kind of, the bright light, basically with the physical form, you feel like your physical body like have a lot of light. So like issuing the lights. And when they become very bright and bright, that's much to do with the samadhi and observing your body sitting there. And you look through it, the light, and then then the light will become almost like softened down, okay? When you soften down, and then you start to see this organ hanging in the body. Okay? So almost like you're looking at a glass. You can penetrate inside and look at this organ. But this is, of course, they have certain version. This is one way. So when you start to have looking at this organ, according to what I understand, is that, and then you will start to look at systematically. So then you will first reveal that there's a hair, and you reveal anything. So you don't look at the organ first, you just review, and then you will see the organs come up. Let's say the hair, the nails, the tongue, okay, and then the brain, and then the liver, and it will just come up one by one. But then after that, so you have to, basically you look at the whole organ, where there's located, okay? And if you look at the hair, and then you see a lot of hair come up. And then almost like you have a telescope. So not a telescope, microscope, kind of like. But this microscope is not an atomic microscope, just like a X-ray kind of thing. But when you focus to the hair, you just think about the hair, and then you see a hair. And when you see my hair will refer to like a, I don't know how do you see this hair for the monk when you're completely safe. But anyway, that's the head hair, and then you have the skin hair, right? The skin hair, if you even think about skin hair, and you see the skin hair. When you think about the liver, you see the liver. But if you really, unless you're really, really good, okay, but then usually you just see one organ by one organ by one organ, okay. And or you will just, unless you're really good, so that you will see the whole organ in the body, okay. This is, I guess that's the reason why here, because it said it very clearly that just like somebody who has the eyes, you know, they can see the thing very clearly, what do you call a container, then filled with some seeds, and he can discern what kind of seeds are they. So this is what they call that meditate on the impurity. Okay. Do you know why why they have to meditate on the impurity? But I'm not here to mention all the method. Actually, there are several methods. If you do anapanasati, that means based on the meditation of breath. So and then you might have this limita here, right? This is we learned in the past about the part of purification. When the limita here, so you if you think about here, I mean after you have a four jhana especially, and then you're thinking about here, and then you will see your hair. And then you're thinking about heart, and then the heart comes out. Okay. That's another way of practice this impurity meditation. But this text actually looks like not very, very, I mean, if you look at the different version in Pali, looks like the Pali you're allowed to do that. When I say allow, I mean based on the text study, you could say that you could do it that way. But if you look at these texts, because as I say, you look at, they have mentioned this Pachavekana, that means the reviewing side is mentioned before this. So it means that looks like if you really compare the two versions, this version is really asking you to observe the body, whole body, right? Remember before that you must have the four jhana. After when you have a four jhana, and then you will have the light, right? You have to always attend the light and focus on the light, right? And then, and in other words, mean you need to stabilize you're not to let your samadhi, your jhana lost, the jhana. So the way that how you can keep the jhana not losing by your daily life is always keep the light on, okay? I won't say on, keep the light. I mean always when the light is not there, you need to always let the light on. This is what we call the perception on the light, right? Right? Yes?
Why do they call the body impure? What would be a pure, I don't understand, what would be a pure body?
No, it's of course it's a Buddhism. I mean, not only Buddhism, even in Hindu religion in earlier, I mean during the Buddha's time. So it's because we attach to the body because we think that we have a very beautiful body, right? And that's why the lust comes to us also. So, but you have to imagine this is, as I say, this studying the text. But nowadays, maybe even like some lay people practice as, you know, look at about this, the monk have to observe the celibacy, right? Is it celibacy? Yes, the celibacy. So of course they must be able to observe the people's organs. Firstly, they have to learn not to attach to the body. But it doesn't mean that they discuss the body, but they just not to attach to the body because they understand. You see, that actually for the reality, our body is full of these kind of organs. And then that's why you say either you like or dislike.
But you know, when we find hair in food, we find that disgusting, right? Or nail in the food, you go, ugh, right? So
don't judge.
I mean, but this is what I mean by that. It is disgusting, really.
What you have to just tell them.
Please mute your mic, please. We don't want to hear that you're playing some kind of music. Thank you.
The iPad's impure.
你把声音关小一点呢，是。
Tell them to take
So
more
when you're really doing this type of method, you have to reach the fourth jhana. until you get into the jhana state through the light you see.
Otherwise, you're not very stable.
Otherwise, you don't see it, or it's
No. In the first jhana is enough. My understanding is that you are not stable.
Okay.
So otherwise, it takes a lot of effort.
Okay. So only then, when you see the organ, it's the fact, it's the real thing. It's not the imagination. Like what you learn, people has no knowledge of human anatomy, they will really see it.
Yeah, when you have jhana, to see the organ is nothing.
As long as you have the idea, you will see the organ will pop up.
I don't know your question, but I want to say this. You know what you want to say is always it also has to direct by your mind, right?
Right.
For example, if your mind thinking that I want to see the feces, and then you see feces, you are not seeing the heart, right?
Right. I know.
So, but I know this. A lot of people find it's very difficult to understand that part. But it's the same thing like you have a machine. You have to point to the right direction in order to see the X-ray, for example. But then the mind certainly, to Buddhism, is always believe the mind is much powerful than that, because you don't have to point. You definitely have to need to reference. Your mind have to know that what you're going to see. But then that's always in Mahayana later on. This is why, not necessarily Mahayana, they are not completely disagree with this. They agree that you can see, but they still want to tell you that is still the creation of the mind. Okay, that's another story. Okay. Because in their theory is saying that, see that, if you don't know there's something called heart inside, you will never see there's a heart.
But you just put the name as heart, but you do see what I mean is when your mind is so purified, it's so concentrated, so you really can see like a mirror, or when it's blank or black, you don't see anything. When the light's on, you see what is inside.
Yeah.
That's because you see your organ. And then because you have that state, when you think about that name, the real organ will come in.
Yeah, but then you still have to understand the organ too, right?
Right.
So let's say that if you never know there's something organ called spleen,
I understand.
but then you will not.
You see the shape.
You don't see the. No, you don't see the spleen. Might not. You might not necessarily don't see the spleen. Now, but I'm just saying this I'm saying this is also is yes and no, because if you're using the Anapanasati method, because this is the reason why in meditation there are lots of things it's very hard to discuss on the text. For example, if you meditate on the mindfulness of breathing, right? So you have this the limita, according to the tradition, you have the limita, and then of course with the limita, and then you enter the jhana. Okay, you enter the jhana, especially you have 4 jhana. And then if you're, after you still have the limiter, and then you're thinking about heart, and then you will see the heart. So of course you're thinking about your body. So you must know the reference, how to do that. You're thinking about your heart, and then you will see the heart, boom, 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 okay. And then if you're thinking about the lung, and then the lung will appear. So, but if you don't have the strong samadhi, of course you might be just see appears and goes. But if you have the very strong samadhi and the 4 jhana, so and he will stay, as long as you like to, generally. But of course, that still need to practice. It doesn't mean that I have the 4 jhana and then I want the land stay for 2 hours, stay there. No, at least you have to be practiced likely to stay. It might be appear and then go, and then you should keep on thinking about land and back, just like the breath meditation, the same way. Okay, that way it looks like if you practice in this way. My understanding is if you practice in this way, if you say that, spleen, you don't even know how the spleen looks like, it might not be up here.
Okay.
Because your mind don't have the reference to what it looks like. And that's also the reason why some people have the arguing that, this is not academic anymore, not a text anymore, but it's more like experience. And then people will discuss that. So is it truly you see your heart or spleen or not? Because, that's another question. But then if you practice another way, this is what I'm saying, that in the Chinese version, actually in the Pali version in the commentary, or even because of commentary saying, and some other masters will teach another way. So since we are not talking the Pali now, let me leave that aside at the moment. When we say the Pali one, I will just give more information. So, but in the Chinese version here, it looks like you have to be able to observe your posture, right? I just mentioned. If you very well observe your posture, I knew that because even when people practice the force of light abiding meditations, like in our retreat, even people see their own body there. And some people actually tell me that they start to see the whole body become a glass. They somehow know something inside, but I ask them not to look at inside. They might scare them. Look, imagine, if you don't have, you look inside, then you see a lot of organ hanging there. You feel disgusting, right? And for that technique, probably that even the organs you don't know, you might be able to see. Let's say I say, even if you don't know how the spleen looks like, you might be able to see it, okay? But do not forget, let me just finish one more sentence. Do not forget, it is very clear to my understanding or to my own experience that it looks like some people, if you know the organ well, you can see much easier than you don't know the organ well. For example, people are really know the anatomic so well, it's much easier for them to meditate than the people who are not very well. You know, that's why in tradition in Thailand, in the temple, you could see they sometimes they put the pictures there, or even some priests particularly practice this technique, and then they find this organ displayed there for you.
You also have a skeleton too.
Well, skeleton is sometimes we love skeletons, so it's nowadays not that horrible skeleton for us.
Yeah.
But I'm talking even the organs that were hanging there. Yes.
You can go visit a corpse.
Huh?
If you have access to a corpse.
Yeah, not in here, right? But in Thailand, if you're especially not that I know that in Sri Lanka they used to one place that they used to go there. That's I only know. I never did it. I don't know.
Yeah, because Bodhi talks about.
Yeah.
He went to a corpse, but also.
Yeah.
And also, I remember him saying something about like there's a method where you go through them, like, and then you go through them again, like 4, and then you go through
Yeah.
another 4, then you go back, and it's
Yeah.
all this very sort of complicated thing. But I guess that's to just sort of develop some type of fluidity through
Yeah,
the body,
yeah, just, yes.
organs.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And also is it also so that, you know, if we have an attachment to our
Mm.
bodies, to see it as an impermanent thing
Mm.
and try to understand that these things are, you know, they come into existence and they pass away.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that really kind of the purpose, or is it just to see them?
No, of course the purpose is to see the reality of the body, and then that also leads to what we are going to discuss maybe later. And then basically, firstly, to see the body is not what we only see superficially on the skin. Actually, a body, like including, let's say ourselves, one cell's body actually is full of this kind of, thing in the body, right? So that's why we call the meditation of impurity, and then this impurity will help us actually not to attach to the body, basically not to attach to the beauty thing. So when you're not attached to beauty, but it's also very strange. There's a saying that I don't know where, but there's a saying that when you're seeing the organs, of course you might be at first feel disgusting. But if you, let's say in a meditation, what we are talking about, this is not like you just see it this way. You're really able to meditate, right? You have the jhana power already. Your mind is stable. But when you can able to see the organs, you just feel clean. Your mind become much more clean. Then. So because the attachment is so subtle attachment, it's away. So attach our body, of course, attach to other bodies. Yeah. Yes.
So this is a way to get rid of some of the defilements too, of lust and when you're looking at a body and when you look at it as a body as well as your own body, right? Looking at it as impure, just looking at it as a composition of organs. It's not the attachment to the person. Then it's a way to sort of get rid of some of those defilements.
Yeah. So certainly, yeah.
So is this also when monks committed suicide in Buddhist time by contemplating the impurity of the body? Is this what they're talking about? They talked about the suicide?
Yeah, because they said that according to that's mentioned in the Buddhist the monastic codes, that what we call the Vinaya text. There's mentioned that either in Chinese version or the Pali, they have the same story. The number is different, but actually they have the same story. That's why I say the number are different. So forget about the numbers now. So and I don't even remember. I'm so bad in numbers. So and some say that few hundreds, I think that's exaggerated. So some say just only 60, I think that may be more likable to me. Few hundred is a huge thing. Few hundred monks commit suicide. Imagine in America, that certainly is a huge problem, right? And I'm sure that maybe American government is going to Buddhism off.
Wasn't Buddha blamed for a lot of people? He should know better. He's got spiritual powers. But he stopped early. Wasn't there a complaint about that by people during Buddhist time?
But I never heard about they committed suicide after discuss about themselves.
Yeah, in the Vinaya Pitaka.
They have killed themselves because they tried several years, become arahant.
No, that's another story.
But I never heard.
Yes, I'm sure about that.
Yes.
I'm not kidding.
No, I'm sure about that.
Yeah.
That you look at this, you look at this, the commentary to the Anapanasati. No, let me see.
Is it because of the repulsiveness?
Actually, I'm wondering about why the people very afraid to see the reality of the body. This system about the understanding about the reality of the body and discuss about themselves and give up the lust about.
No, of course, people don't like. Normally, people don't like to see this. I mean,
that's why
it's,
they make question a lot.
No. I want to say that. Let me back to that story because I need to say. Actually, accordingly, it's not because they all practice they have the same problem. Some people who are not, according to the text, either in Chinese or in Pali, because they're not very skillful. So and then what happened is that it's said that. So if you add some of the Chinese kind of more like a commentary way and explaining. So because when they eat the thing also, let's say when they start to eat noodle, for example, of course, no, I don't know whether they might not have noodle, but in other words, when they eat the thing, they see the thing very similar to the organs. So that's why they started to feel disgusting. And of course, in the story, it's also because there was one of the demon, what we call the Mara, okay? The Mara came down, and there's a lot of story about the Mara. Why I want to say I know this story? Because in my PhD thesis, I did have to write about this. So, and I'm sure in Pali they have. So, and then, the Mara came down and then tried to coax them. The basic Mara tried to tell the monk that you should, that's the right way. And the Mara came down because he can walk on the water. So, and then the monk was being convinced that they, basically, he said, I'm a god. So he's been convinced that he's a god. And then according to all Chinese versions have the same way, just only how it comes down is different. Okay, so that he's convinced that he's a god, and then he wanted to ask them to relieve these people when they feel disgusting of the practicing of when they feel disgusting. So, and that's a way that you could help, has a great merit if you kill them. So actually, it's not they commit suicide. Many actually, then they will feel so suffer, and then this monk is like a murderer who want to be relieved from the suffering, and then I can help you. So that's why I use a knife and cut them and kill them. I mean, we are in academy, of course. I mean, we are talking this.
Was it murder-suicide, or did he just kill people?
Many is he killed people. He killed the other fellow monks.
So he was being merciful?
But he was convinced by the Mara that he's doing a merciful thing. The Mara means a kind of like demonic thing. And anyway, this is not a very happy story. Usually we don't like to talk about. And then
I like to talk about it. I like darkness.
No, I don't mind, but I just want to say, but this is still when the people are newly to the Buddhism, they really can misunderstand a lot. Okay. But whether this is really happened or not, I don't know. But I just only can tell you, in Chinese version you have this, in the Pali version commentary you do have this story. So, yes.
Just relate to this.
In the Vinaya Pitaka.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
Relate to this sutta. The meditation meditate on the impurity is the must-have step to reach your enlightenment, or it's just one way of your concentration, or one way how
I'm not a Buddha. You ask the Buddha, but it's a must step. But no. But this is only one of the sutta, right? You cannot say this is the only way.
But for the mindfulness for the
I think last time we discussed already. What is mean that Buddha mentioned that this is the one way, and then even what does a one way mean? This is the only way mean. Have 5 meanings, and including the modern research, you could say there are 6 meanings, right? There are 6 meanings of it. So it really depends on how you look at it. But of course, I mean, for those people who are highly emphasis on this text, and then they will say this is the, in the first class I mentioned already, this is the reason why in the first class, this text, they were trying to promote this text become so important, they will say this is the only way. If you look at this as the only way, of course, then you might also can read it or understand it as you have to do it, right? But I cannot answer for you about that question. So, but of course, it's very because because this relates to a big topic. If you think that this must have to do it, that in the way that we just mentioned, that you have to able to see the organs, right? In other words, you are saying that everyone must have the 4 jhana, must be so powerful in the jhana. But it is also actually in the Buddhist text mentioned that some arahant, I'm talking about arahant, sotapanna is nothing to mention, okay? Some the stream mentor, but those who become arahant, and it's mentioned in the Buddhist text that some they don't even have a jhana power. So that you can infer that if they don't have the jhana power, they won't be able to see all the organs. Maybe occasionally they see 1 or 2, I don't know, but they won't, right? So, okay, now you get it now. So that's why I'm not here to answer that question, and this is only the Buddha can answer to you. Okay.
There are many ways.
Okay. All right. So basically, of course, to see the impurity, it's very clear for people, even in Saravastivada. Remember when we learned this, the entrance to Abhidhamma, right? By Skandila, the text we read before this class we start. So I said that according to the Abhidhamma Kosa, they said there are 2 of the so-called the meditation technique, the way to the immortal, okay, in English. Nectar actually means immortal. So one is that the technique is called is impurity meditation. But actually the impurity meditation is not strictly to this, but there will be the next one. I'm going to say that. And then the impurity understanding looks like the impurity meditation according to the Saravastivada Abhidhamma Kosa. So it doesn't refer to the organs, but it refers to the composition of the body, decomposition of the body.
Decomposition?
Yeah.
Or it's dying?
Yeah. So the decay of the body. I'm saying that, but they use a term called asubha bhavana, mean impurity bhavana. But the asubha bhavana, but it didn't say the asubha as in the organs, but as in the decomposition of the organs. Okay? That's another story which I told you already. Actually, there are lots of things still we need to research, understanding. So, but this is say that the word different type of impurity, but here the impurity refers to the organs. Okay. Get it now? And another technique is the mindfulness of breathing. Okay, that's mentioned in the Abhidhamma Kosa. Okay. All right. No question. So there are 31 organs mentioned here. Okay, and then I think in Pali, if I might be wrong, I cannot remember now. Maybe 38, but generally we say 40. Okay, because we based on the Visuddhimagga list. Okay. All right, and then we look at the next one, I-13. So, and then the 13th step, okay. After observing those organs, 31 organs, what is going to observe again? So, can we read that? I-13 on page 16, okay. Again.
A monk contemplates the body with regards to the body. A monk contemplates the elements of the body.
This body of mine consists of the earth element, the water element, the fire element, the wind element, the space element, and the consciousness element.
Just as the butcher, having killed a cow and peeled the skin, spreads it on the ground and divided into 6 pieces.
So too a monk contemplates the elements of the body. And this body of mine consists of the earth element, the water element, the fire element, the wind element, the space element, and the consciousness element. Thus a monk contemplates the internal body with regard to the body, contemplates the external body with regard to the body, and establishes mindfulness on the body, possessing, knowing, seeing, understanding, and penetration. This is what is meant by a monk contemplates the body with regard to the body.
Okay, of course, the next one is observing the 6 elements. Of course, in the Pali, it's mentioned observing the 4 elements. Okay, and then this observing the 6 elements. No, but observing the 6 elements actually is also happening in some other Pali texts as well, really? But not in this so-called the 4 foundational mindfulness text, but in other texts. So this observing the 6 elements. It also depends how you understand it. Okay, so you could understand it when you say observing the earth elements, like these organs with the earth. You know what I mean, like the liver, the lung. But when you say the water, it's like the blood, like the urine, right? And then even sometimes the bone marrow. So there's a liquid in the bone marrow, the white color one. So it's a very popular one that you use that one in order to meditate for the white meditation also, white color. And then the 5 elements, of course, so basically is the temperature. So you just know there's in every organ there's a temperature. And the wind element is the same thing, like there's something like a breath is one of them. Okay, and the space, and the consciousness is that. But according to Abhidhamma, of course, then the so-called the earth, the water, the fire, the wind, and all these actually, within one organ, you could able to observe these 4 elements. Okay, so that's why it's also sometimes, even in the Pali system, they also mention like when you meditate, it's according to the sutra or according to the Abhidhamma. Okay, but according to the Abhidhamma, then in every organ, there's 4 elements there. Okay, yes. Yeah, it is because no, actually, it's the 6 elements is almost like represent a person's, right? Consciousness represent the awareness, right? There's so, and then the space, they must have a space within, and then there's 4 elements. So a person actually consists of the 6 elements.
What would be an example of this space element? Is that like the space in between a cell, like?
Not cell, but the between like one organ to another organs, like your skin would have the space between your heart, right?
But there is no space because it consists of earth and water in between.
Organs can be hollow. Lungs are considered hollow. Intestine, bladder.
Yeah, but anything you have, you're like a bladder. You have space there, right? The empty vacuum, and then like the bladder is. Right, that's the space. So that's the reason why he say like a butcher, when after they cutting all this organ out, they know very well. Of course, the consciousness may be a big heart, but here because you're aware that this is mean the consciousness, you're aware this organ and that organ is a consciousness.
So it's like the aggregates. It's just another way of saying it, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, but actually, this 6 elements meditation is very popular in the Sarasvati way of observing it. So that's why I say it's one way of observing is that you're able to separate all these organs, not like just now you mentioned about like there's a repeat and repeat, but the way they differentiate is like anything is solid is called the earth element, anything is with the water is called the water elements, like this. Okay. So they also have the list there. But that's the way it's very, because I think if you study the Abhidhamma last time we mentioned, that's the way of contemplate of the three bases. You meditate on 3 bases with 7 contemplation. So that means with the 3 places mean this the 5 aggregates as 1, and then the 12 how do we translate 12 bases? Your eyes and the eyes object, right? And the nose and the object of the nose. The 12 ayatana so I mean a trap basis, and then you have these 6 elements. But they usually Sarvastivada like to refer as 6 elements rather than the 18 elements. Okay. So that's a Sarvastivada. But you can do both, but it's very common in the Sarvastivada school. They like to refer to 6 elements. Okay.
Can you just explain the consciousness element a little more?
No, the consciousness means you know this organism means the consciousness.
Is that the physical mind or brain or
No, there's no physical mind. The mind is always mental.
No. I
Yeah.
mean like the physical brain, or it's not. It's
No. No. Of course, during that time, nobody think the brain has so much function. You just know, just think the brain is just a numb of the ugly thing on top of your head, and with the lots of liquid inside, and the blood vessel going around. Okay. No, when you meditate, when you know there's a space, that means the space and consciousness, right? When you meditate, when you know there's a heart, that means the consciousness and the heart, right? And that's why it say first you know the organs, and then just like the good butchers, they know. They can differentiate, not just because this is heart. They can differentiate. There's a water there. There's a earth there. There's a wind there. There's basically there's even the within the organs like say the lung. Then say that not only lung, like even the heart. Then you think that there's a space, but you might have the wind also and the temperature, right? And then the consciousness, yeah.
But then that would be like a secondary element, I guess, because you have to have the body, the 4 basic elements: earth, water, fire, wind. The consciousness element would be secondary because there is no consciousness without the first 4.
Why not?
First 4.
No, you know the thing is consciousness. The awareness itself is consciousness.
It's emergent property.
Why there's no
What I'm saying is you can't. You have to have the first 4. You cannot
No. I think you're confused that already. We discussed that already in the earlier time. It looks like here, when you say the contemplate the body as a body, it does not only refer to material. That solved the question already, right? But to the Pali, you could explain it that way, even though actually even Bhikkhu Bodhi, or when you look at their writing, they disagree with that. But to the Pali, you can explain it in such a way because the Pali is very clear. They don't put the jhana and everything here, okay? They only just put the 4 elements, right? But when you look at this Chinese version, this is what we are doing here. And you don't just only just see one version. The Chinese version, there's a 4 jhana mentioned. The 4 jhana had nothing to do with the physical body. Even however much you argue. Of course, in tradition, I mean, the more you learn, there's more complicated. Even some people say actually the first jhana, the joy has to be only come from bodily sensation, not from the mental sensation. I'm not here to discuss this with you because this is much more complicated. That's why I say you always have to learn the basic first. The basic, this is what I call is a very basic concept. The basic concept is, anyway, here the consciousness means you're aware the organ itself is consciousness, okay?
It's like eye sees the flower, makes contact, eye consciousness.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just with the elements.
And also I said, I don't know, and also I said there's some other way of explaining what the 4 elements mean. It's not only restricted to elements like heart, it many belong to earth element. Urine is many belong, but the heart can be, sometimes you could find the blood there, but in the heart there you also might have the water element, okay? So, or maybe the heart you could feel there's a wind there, you could say there's a wind element too, right? But like a urine, for example, you could only just say the urine is a water element, okay? That's a Sarvastivada explanation. I said that clearly already. But according to Abhidhamma, sometimes don't have to be understand this way. That's another explanation. Or you could say another way of meditation, okay? It's within the heart, you always can find the 4 elements, okay? All right.
And in the breath too. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, even the breath too. But then, so I'm not here to say. But of course, it's believed that when you practice according to Abhidharma way or according to the Sutra way, it works because the purpose is just basically a person is not. This is the time that you really don't look at yourself, the body, as what I'm thinking this my body is about. You first look at your body as only the comprises of the organs, and now even within the organs, you can know that this is earth, this is fire, this is wind, this is, the consciousness. That means that there's a consciousness, otherwise you don't have a body. You will not sustain. And that maybe also has to do with how this tradition Buddhism believe that when the consciousness is not there, that's why our body, in general, unless it's a rare case, that your body would start to decompose it, start to break away, right? Because it's only the consciousness will represent the life there, right? Okay. All right. Shall we just go on now to talk about after that, and then now they have to observe the body, just like somebody will die, and after that, what the body. This is more like now not looking at something in the present time, but it's more like in the future time, or So this I'm saying this is this system here. That's how they do it. Okay. Now that's why I put the I refer to the mindfulness on the body. Number 14, they have A, B, C, D, and E. Okay. There's 5 steps, I think. I remember it's 5. Yeah. Because some they might have 10 steps, like in this Visuddhimagga, the part of purification. Okay. So, but here I mentioned 5 steps here. Okay. Okay. Just the decay and the decomposition of the body. So shall we read all together? Maybe it's good. The first one. Again, among
contemplates the body with regards to the body. Among contemplates the corpse which for 1 or 2 days, or even for the 6 or 7 days, has been pecked by the crows and eaten by jackals and wolves, burned by fire, or burned underground, or has totally decomposed or decayed.
Having seen it, he compares himself with it thus. This body of mine will also be like that, and equally has that nature, not exempt from it eventually.
Thus a monk contemplates the internal body with regards to the body, contemplates the external body with regards to the body, and establishes mindfulness on the body, possessing, knowing, seeing, understanding, and penetration.
This is what is meant by a monk contemplates the body with regards to the body.
Again, among
contemplates the body with regards to the body, as the monk himself were to see in the eternal ground, as a skeleton that is blue, decomposed, half eaten with bones on the ground. Having seen it, he compares himself with us. This body of mine will also be like that, and equally has that nature, not exempt from it eventually. As a monk contemplates the internal body with regards to the body, contemplates the external body with regards to the body, establishes mindfulness in the body, possessing, knowing, seeing, understanding, and penetration. This is what is meant by a monk contemplates the body with regards to the body. Again, a monk contemplates the body with regards to the body, as though a monk himself were to see in the eternal ground a skeleton without skin, flesh, and blood, connected only by sinews. Having seen it, he compares himself with it thus. This body of mine will also be like that, and equally has that nature, not exempt from it eventually. Thus a monk contemplates the internal body with regards to the body, contemplates the external body with regards to the body, and establishes mindfulness on the body, possessing, knowing, seeing, understanding, and penetration. This is what is meant by a monk contemplates the body with regards to the body. Again, a monk contemplates the body with regards to the body, as though a monk himself were to see the eternal ground, disconnected bones scattered in all directions, foot bones, shin bones, thigh bones, hip bones, back bones, shoulder bones, neck bones, and the skull of different places. Having seen them, he compares himself with them thus. This body of mine will also be like that, and equally has that nature, not exempt from it eventually. Thus the monk contemplates the internal body with regards to the body, contemplates the external body with regards to the body, establish mindfulness on the body, possessing, knowing, seeing, understanding, and penetration. This is what is meant by monk contemplates the body with regards to the body. Again, a monk contemplates the body as a body, as though a monk himself were to see in charnel grounds bones that are as white as shells, or blue as the colors of doves, or red as smeared with blood, decayed and crumbled to dust. Having seen them, he compares himself with them thus. This body of mine will also be like that, and equally has that nature, not exempt from it eventually. Thus, a monk contemplates the internal body with regard to the body, contemplates the internal body with regard to the body, and establishes mindfulness of the body, possessing, knowing, seeing, understanding, and penetration. This is what is meant by the monk contemplates the body with regard to the body. If a monk or nun contemplates the body with regard to the body, little by little, this is called the foundation of mindfulness, not as contemplating the body with regard to the body.
Okay, thank you.
That's a lot of decaying.
Anyway, there were 5 steps here. The first decaying actually mostly like contemplate, some other people's body. Basically, you contemplate a corpse. Okay, so after they die, 1 or 2 or 3 days, and then usually there's generally what we learn is that like it swell, right, and it like a bloat up, and then and here of course because in those days in old days the corpse usually something they can discuss on a certain channel ground in a certain place. Of course nowadays you don't have this. This is talking about 2,500 years in India, and nowadays we try to cover everything up. We don't want to see this thing. It makes you sad, It makes you, I don't want to do this. We want to see some other thing, rather. So basically, so then they understand that the claw and everything will come to eat, or either they were burned. But the corpse is really like rotten. Basically, the corpse is rotten. So and important after observing this, so that's why in still the tradition, sometimes you have to go to this. Like a lotus terrace, Basically, lotus terrace is only ashes there. But then at least there's a place that people are kept the corpse, especially if you go to channel, 坟场, okay? And then you have to sit there and do meditation. So it's, actually, people don't know what they are doing, but usually they are sitting on there. Traditionally, you have to practice this kind of thing that, the people will die, and I will die in one day the same way, And then you start to observing that the corpse, the body, the corpse will be in such a horrible way, basically. So, and that's you started to be more humble because you don't want to feel like, I know everything, I'm the best, I'm the what, because that's how, which is actually is against normal people way of thinking. Because normal people, you have to be, like especially in America, we learn it. I don't mean it's in a bad way always, but it's like, you are the best, you are the most beautiful, you are the, always very encouraging, number one, But unfortunately, something in Asia is always, you are not the best, Yeah. Another extreme is always there. But anyway, this is definitely after this meditation, you just accept whatever happened. I will be die one day. So, it's really, not as I say, it's not really acceptable in general in American society. That's why I said that many times. When you come to Buddhism, come to America, or even in any country, like, people sometimes argue with me about Chinese Buddhism, this and that. I told them because that has to do with the Chinese culture, something you don't talk in Chinese, right? The same thing, unless you're really deep in the meditation or deep in the practice. So not for a beginner, tell them, okay, let's just meditate on your body, you're going to die, and then you're going. Then people hate that, and who want to study Buddhism?
But this is the truth. It is pretty disgusting. It's the truth.
Yeah, who wanted to do meditation? And then
it's things as they are. This is what happens.
So, but then at the same time, what the purpose is actually when you come. But this is also a reality, right? So.
Because you see animals the same way. When you see animals dying and decomposing.
Yeah, and then we will face that one day. Even though how well you kept your body, maybe you do the quickest way now. You just do the burning, right?
dying right now.
But actually the same formality is there, because when it burn, it all goes, but it's just only very quick, like within 2-3 minutes now. Now because the technology, but in old day you kept it there, it just go very slow. The processing is more slower. Anyway, so it's very important that you started to really see that there's no self. According to the commentary, we're saying that then you start to see who is this body, who is the I, So just you see the no self. That's one of the way. And go to the see no self also, because you start to see that the body going to change, right? From so-called a healthy, and then it become horrible way. And the second one that, so you not only that, you could see that that in the channel there, the bone is scattered, either the bone, basically it's scattered either is because that it's either in different color, right? That after this, because of calcium gone, you can look at nowadays for the size might be. So and then they change to different color, like a blue kind of color. Usually we say blue because in the old language, usually they differentiate the green color and the blue are mixed together, kind of like a bluish green or greenish blue. I don't know how you like to say, but that kind of color, like when something is like been rust, color. And then and then also started to decompose it, like scatter around. And either because of half eaten on that. So there's no self, because why we attach to this body, and then one day that will be, especially in those days, and the monk also, because nowadays it's very different. The monk I don't want to say the monk, the layperson, of course, why they don't want to be a monk. One of the big things I want to say that, even now they change, is because imagine when you're getting older, when you die, you might be dying on the street, right? So you need to really give up the idea too. If you die on the street, die on the street. No, but this is very hard to accept. Huh?
You're gonna die anyway.
Yeah, but this is very hard to accept by the layperson, okay? It's very hard. That's one thing I want to say is very different from nowadays thinking already. And when I say nowadays, I mean it maybe refer to the few hundred years ago. Huh?
So I know that India in Varanasi, they do have the charnel grounds. They still do it the old-fashioned way. How about Sri Lanka? Do they still have these grounds where they burn the body?
Yeah, they do in a village.
Have you been to?
No, the village they burn body. They don't. They.
A lot of people go to Varanasi.
Yeah, because they believe that the holy water. But in the Sri Lanka or in some country, when they don't have the new technology, they used to burn in the village. They also pile up the wood and they burn there, right? And then I'm saying they burn it there, and then if the monks, of course, they might be, but all the monks, they usually are they do the cremation, yeah. So and even lay person.
Like the monks here do regular cremation, not outside.
Now it's changed. Now here you have to go to this, what is it? The funeral place, and you just.
Crematorium.
But that's not good,
Creamy.
because the smoke doesn't go out. So you're not being released.
No, the smoke is gone now.
No, because I went when my dog was cremated, and it's not a good.
I think the release had nothing to do with the smoke, but to my understanding.
Don't let the smoke go out into the thing. They do something with the smoke, so.
They filter it. It's filtered.
Yeah, but they don't let it out.
It's
So
filtered though.
we should create something where when we die, we can be
Released.
burned outside.
That's too polluting. It's too much pollution.
It's like in the desert.
It's too much
You mean make it sound like a barbecue?
Yes.
I want to be cremated outside.
In Tibet, they feed you to the vultures.
I don't care. I could even be fed to the vultures first,
Cut them up
whatever.
and feed the vultures.
but I would like to be cremated outside, not in a crematory
Good luck,
where
honey.
they're recycling.
Yeah, we don't have this facility here.
We should try to get it going somewhere.
But I think in Sri Lanka, maybe, I think even nowadays, Sri Lanka, also even in Thailand, they changed already. As I say, the new technology. No, they still go to, some temple, they might have their own funeral. Their own funeral. But I never go to Sydney, I don't know nowadays. But even in Malaysia, I know that there's several Thai temples in Malaysia, and then they have this funeral, their own funeral.
And probably also maybe in Tibet they probably
I think, no, I want to say that the on-funeral, I don't know how the facility, maybe, it might be, yeah, even though they use fire, maybe they're open space, that I don't know. Yeah, that's, I mean, depending on what you mean by the open space. Yeah. Yes.
So it's interesting what you say, because the question would be, is there some kind, because of confinement of the spirit or the ashes or the, what, and this is...
Well, that's what that's what she believes, but I won't take it that way, but yeah. Mm.
So it's based on, but the belief is the moment the person dies, there might be that sort of connection to the next life. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter
It takes
where.
3.5 days. 3.5 days for
It
consciousness.
doesn't matter where the body is.
Exactly.
Is that well, the body, I mean, according
That's
to
what they believe.
Tibet, the body lingers for a while.
Yeah, you mean that's the battle, but that's that's why we you know, that's another story, because according to the Pali version, I mean strict Pali, of course. I mean, then even among the Pali, there are some disagree with that. That when a person dies, the consciousness has to be go right away. Okay, but in the Saravastivada school, of course, they believe in the because don't forget, even the Tibetan also, they also actually even their Vinaya, then all their so-called this what they call this Hinayana, the Sravakayana's teachings, they all learn from the Saravastivada school tradition. And the Saravastivada school tradition, that's what we read the text even like this. And the tradition actually, they also believe there's an intermediate body, but not in the Pali. I mean, strict Pali, okay? But some Pali also disagree, some Pali scholar or some Pali monks or traditional, okay? That is not my question. I mean, so also ask the Buddha also. I have my answer, but I don't want to answer this one.
We could ask. If you got deep
Huh?
meditation, we could ask.
So to have for yourselves, maybe
You
a
get
way
answers.
No, actually, no, that's very clear. The battle, that means the intermediate, according even the Saravastivada idea, it is not taking place for everybody. The battle, that means that the intermediate body, or antarabhava in Sanskrit word is called. The antarabhava means the intermediate body. Actually, the intermediate body always taking place for the people who is not sure. When the people have a very bad karma, so bad, that immediately the darkness comes and take them to the hell, okay? Or people are so good in the jhana and so good in the meditation, or they're so good and they just wanted to go to heavens, immediately they will go to heavens. And even though maybe a good practitioner because of unlucky die, right? They still don't know what to do, or they don't want to be die in such a way, or because of the thing about the families or what, they're in the like a limbo stage. Whenever they are in the limbo state, the intermediate body taking place. So we must understand that part. Okay. So, and of course, as I say, by the Pali way of, because of the, in theory, because of the Bhavanga, the consciousness way of understanding. So it's very, so that's, at least they never have the understanding of, so because of the consciousness of Bhavanga, so you have a stage when person die, and then there's a stage which, for them, to Pali system, when there's no way to prove that there's an intermediate body from the sutra, okay? So they do have this debate actually, I think in Katawatu also, they have a little, but then of course, as I say, not necessarily represent all the Theravada monk, but that's how for the textual study, okay? But from the text. Okay, so shall we have a little break first and then we can finish? Today we don't have anything to eat, I guess. But that's good because otherwise you don't have appetite too. Or maybe you say, let's have a little break. Say maybe less than 10 minutes. Okay. Mm.
It's a very popular subject. Everyone's so excited about this subject.
What's up, Dad?
What happens the moment you die? That one moment. Everyone wants to know.
Well, if you read a lot of literature on children and adults near death, where they die and come back, it's very interesting.
Let's just finish the other three first, okay? for the decomposition of the body. The first one, just know the body, after a few days, a person dying, so the body like bloat out, and then also started to be erode, right, break up. And then later understand the body, even the bone started to change some color because it's scattered on the ground, you know, and then also even maybe partly become rotten, right? And then the third part is that, and then also, of course, after they contemplate this, they still have to, most important to not just to contemplate this, looking at like a phenomena, but you have to understand that I ourselves also will, in the future, or, you know, will have the same, will be the same way, you know. So, and the third way is that, the third part is that this, here they list in the 5 steps, okay. The third step is that, so even also contemplate the person when the body will discuss on a channel. So, but then some flesh, you know, actually detach from the bone, right? Or detach from the skin as well. So some flesh even detach from the skin, or you could say the skin are out of the, or could be the skin are detached from the flesh. And then you could see there's a lot of the blood. It's more in the deeper way. And then, you know, when the body started to decay more longer, so, and then that's how it is. And then even some of the nerve, not the nerve, the veins, okay, you could see there's a veins inside. And then the same way, so when one seeing this, that one contemplate, so this body of mine will also be like that, okay. And then again, the fourth step is that, that's why I put here 14D on page 18. So again, then the body, to look at the body in the channels. So now, this time that they might be, can see the body completely disconnected. You know, some connect the body disconnected already, and in different areas. So either the bones, the thigh bone, the shin bone, and all types of bone, all over everywhere in different places. So it's also knowing that, you know, this is what we believe, that our bodies are like that, but then one day, you know, I will be like this, the same way. So the last one, it's more like not only just seeing the body, the skeleton scattered everywhere, disconnected from the body, from each other. So, and also you can see that the bone color, something is like white like a conch. It can be a kind of bluish color like the dove, you know. And then also can be sometimes the bone even smear with the blood stain, right? So, and then also ultimately they will be crushed to like a powder, right? So, and this complete body will vanish. So actually it's believed that when you do this kind of meditation, so it's a one way that you start to understand there's no I, no self there. So that's one way of explaining. And also, sometimes because you're meditating on this, you start to learn also detach yourself from the, you know, attached to the forms. Like, you know, oh, this is how a body is, a form is. And then actually the form can be, how to say, distort or kind of like maybe change the form. And also, they also start not only just a form, but you also start to detach from the shape. You know, like there's a kind of shape in such a way, but the shape also changing and it decaying. So you can also detach from the shape. And the third one, after, firstly, usually you, by doing these decompositions of the a corpse, so you learn to detach yourself from the form, and then later detach yourself from the shape, and then also detach yourself from the color. So that's why then you know, you thought that's not white, but it's not, but it can be some other bluish, you know, like a rusty color, and some with the blood smear color. And it's not like you love it, you know, usually we love the color, right? But here, the color is there, but you detach yourself from the color also. And the last one is that you detach yourself from believing that there is something called I is there, that which is stay there permanently. So in other words, because when you see that the bones scatter everywhere, and then when even the bone ultimately will be crushed to powder, you know, and then become almost like nothing is there. So you thought that that's my body, it exists, but actually it's also have to face to this, the so-called the impermanence mean it will goes one, you know. So that's the reason why usually that's been explained in Sarvastivada way, say that there were 4. Why they have to do whatever how many steps they are, that actually is a way that you, by meditate on the impurity, so you'll be detached from four things. I just mentioned already, right? So that's I, but you can put that as the last one. But the first one is that the form, the second would be the shape, and the third is the color, and then you understand there's no I will stay permanently, even with the body.
Can I say something also? Modern science is telling us that there's only 1 trillion of our own cells, much bigger, and there's 10 trillion of bacteria and microorganisms inside and outside. So in reality, in terms of numbers, this is actually an ecosystem. Many millions of ecosystems we carry. So it's not really the body, but there's many ecosystems. Each area, each tooth has its own colony of bacteria.
Yeah. Yep.
Each hand here decreases. If it's not for that, bacteria eating away this flesh, you would actually rot away and have gangrene. So this body is not really what it looks like in terms of modern science.
I of course.
Telling us that
Yeah, it's true.
It looks like your body, but it's not.
But you know, there's a difference, something like that. Like even say about the size of, even when you look at something for the microscope, right? You could definitely see there's organism inside, even within the bone, right? How the bone can stay longer, why the bone doesn't stay longer. But we must understand, the size, it's of course, I mean, there's nothing to do with the. I'm saying that mineral size certainly have a lot of great contribution to humankind, right? But it's a very different from when you do meditation to understand something.
That helps me to understand that.
And then when you say no, that helps you because the size only you just.
This is not my body. Simple.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe then the Buddha have to invent a new technique, like
Well, that's why modern science is very helpful to me, quantum physics.
No. I know.
The nature of reality, that it's the same thing as.
But it doesn't mean that we always have to use a science to prove what we.
No.
Yeah. So
It's
right.
just another way of
So yes.
I know this is rooted in wrong view, but I'm going to ask anyway. When a monk or when anyone contemplates these things, and you see this body as being so impure and impermanent, and like that, there was an arahant that after he became enlightened, he committed suicide because he saw that this is just I don't know if you want to call it a waste of time, but once you realize that this body is going to wither away and you're not attached to it anymore. Like I said, I know this is wrong view, but what's wrong with just saying, I don't want to live this life, because you know it's just a life of suffering?
No, I think it. I'm not sure, but I want to say is that of course. I mean, I don't know what you mean by this life, but.
Well, just our thoughts are suffering. I mean, so when we know this, or once we know this, why not put a stop to it?
I don't. I think that's.
Once you release from suffering, the whole idea is the construct of the self is something of the mind, and once you release from that, and once you release from the suffering, because the reason why we suffer is because we internalize it. It's the person, it's the I that you feel that it's hurt. But once you realize that there is no I, therefore that person doesn't suffer, then there is this joy and this happiness. That's the whole point. To be happy and not end your life because you know that this is not you.
Well, most of these people that are arahants, it's like right after they become arahants, they pass on anyway. Most of the people that reach that state, they die quick, like in a short period of time.
No, what is still I don't get the question.
I mean, like these monks that commit suicide, but they know that.
No, I don't know why you always want to mention about commit suicide case. That's very rare case. Unfortunately, we always want to talk the very rare case. Like there was, if it in New York one day people would use a gun to shoot somebody, and then we thought every New Yorker using a gun and shot someone else. And I mean, that's of course it doesn't mean that we cannot talk about that why he want to shoot people. So, but we must first understand this is a rare case first, okay? And also there are lots of story behind we don't know. First thing we must understand, according to Saraswati, they have a different way to explain that. I won't say it has a different way. There's one way to explain. It's, but of course, it disagrees from other traditions. I mean, someone who hold it. Anyway, unless you really study a very deep Buddhism, I can list a lot of things to you. But I just want to say they're so disagreeing with how to explain why that monk, a particular monk, and then on the verge of that, he was so suffering in the body, and he thought he should just let his life go away. Okay, and they would have a different explanation. Pali had Pali explanation, Saraswati had Saraswati explanation, Southern Tika had Southern explanation. Okay, I'm not here to give this list now. That's why I say that's the reason why study Buddhism is interesting to me, because I never just believe when one people say explanation, and that's one thing that put in a more elaborated case. Why he committed suicide, you never know detail. Perhaps he think, perhaps just like a euthanasia, right? People doing euthanasia, you never know. Perhaps he also out compassion. He just thought, I don't want the people to take care of me. I'm always suffer and this and that, and the people worry about me so much and this and that. So this is not mentioned in the old text because the language is very different from those days and now. Okay. And there's so many things we never know. How he looked at his body, you also don't know. Maybe he knew that actually his physical body is, he had got a cancer so deeply, now he's going to die in 15 few minutes. Why don't I just end myself? It's much better, much easier. You never know. Okay, I just want to say, don't take that one example and then we thought that would be, we never know what is really exactly the case. Okay, but of course I agree that that's been discussed in the Buddhism. Okay. Don't take that as the case like, oh, you look at, you see, he might be wanted to commit suicide. Why don't I do that? I think that's a very extreme understanding. Unless you want to say that all the monks are doing this way on the verge of time, so you might be saying, oh, actually that might be the practice. As I say, you never know the risk. If it just only happened, it's believed that during the Buddha's time there was more than about how many? It's said that about 50,000 arahants. Okay. If it say the less, so at least there will be 10,000 arahants. Okay, if there's a 10,000 arahant, if one of the peculiar case happen with us, it's nothing strange, right? And you have to look at this kind of arahants. It's almost like for some of the what we call the mundane people, not necessarily that they do the thing that they will understand why. Just like I know one thing that when I was I don't say that they're semi-arahant, but it can be like that. Like we used to joke when we're in the university, the so-called the top professor, you think they wear very smart. They don't. They sometimes wear like a beggar, on the street and walking in university. So you'll be surprised. Oh, actually, he's a very famous professor. He doesn't care, and his mind is completely occupied with something else, right? And we know that in the university, those who wear the most smart are the bodyguard, okay? With the tie, with a very clean shirt. We know that, So, okay, I'm just saying this, not necessarily we understand what their mind sometimes, okay? So now, after that, what's your question?
I think you misinterpreted my question. Once you realize that this is just suffering, and it's like, I don't know, why continue this madness over and over and over?
Yeah, if you understand there's a suffering, you don't want to continue this method, it actually is a good way of thinking to Buddhism. But to have the extreme to commit suicide and that is wrong, right? I don't know why you want to link. That's what what I want to say. When you realize that the body is like this way, that why you want to continue, that might be, I could say that it's fit to the Buddhist understanding. Because we attached. So that's why the people are, actually, we have to understand, when we talk this text, we are reading this is about meditation. This is not about just a normal person, as a lay person especially, or even including monk, just only have the marriage, okay? Here they don't talk about marriage. Or because you offer the dana, you will go to heavens, you will have a marriage. The text is not about that. This is a text that very clearly, if you want to out of the samsara, okay, that you have to practice. Out of the samsara, you have to practice the 4 foundations of mindfulness. It's a really, really serious matter. And I don't think that actually in the earlier time, people say that I should teach this text. I never wanted to. Imagine if people are just a new, oh, I like Buddhism, you know. It's meditate, very relaxed, very wonderful. And I teach this thing, they hate it, you know. And also depend, even if I teach, I maybe talk very differently. I would say, oh, this is not, you know, this is only for Arahant, okay? I maybe just say that. You don't have to worry about that.
Only for monks.
Or only for monks. A lay person don't do it. No, don't. Oh, myself. So maybe. I mean, it's also, as I say, this is certainly, when we talk these texts, the Buddha will say that very clearly. This is if you want to get out of liberation. You want to have a liberation. You want to say that earlier, and you want to have the true Dharma. That's how it is. Okay. But we must separate ourselves when we read this. Say we are not talking in a normal conversation like a newspaper, and then the people say doing meditation was good for your focus, good for your alertness. You could have a more productive life. You know. We are not talking this kind of topic now. Yes.
So I'm going to embody Yang and
Yeah.
say that this is a lot of the Vipassana that we do,
Hmm.
and we come, you know, to the teacher and say, by the way, I saw my skeleton, or I saw this microbes in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, these cannot be explained by simple meditation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you're doing the jhanas and when you're really doing deep meditation and you really practice, you are going to see these things.
Yeah.
But they need to be explained to us, because if you're really focused, and you would think you want to lose your mind, but these are things that now are being explained and make sense, especially to me, because I've had some of those experiences. So, and I'm happier now that I have an answer.
Yeah, that's why I say it's really serious when you do the insight meditation. If you really, have especially if you are really, anyway, if you really devote yourself to practice, and this thing will come to you. So, but it depends on the technique. Then this is nothing to do with the text now, but that's why I say a lot of things is very hard. We talk about the text, and if we talk about technique, if we talk about also how you come in, it might be a little different, but the content will be very similar there. So that basically my understanding, if you're really devoted to doing insight meditation, you definitely have to see some organs. You may not see all the organs, and you might be somehow see that how the skeleton is, how the skeleton will decompose. It's nothing strange to me. Okay.
I've seen the decaying body.
So yeah, so you somehow see that. Anyway, this is very hard to explain to people. Yeah, yes, yeah.
Do you do a retreat, a Satipatthana retreat?
Actually, I think the retreat usually is not conducted by me, but we used to, from the past few years, is conducted by Shimam.
When does that happen?
So actually, last time it was happened in September already.
Are you talking about the Vipassana?
Yeah, that's the 10 days one.
That's only once a year, right?
Yeah, we do it only once a year. Our monastery is so busy. Unless you have a power, you have billion dollars. We can change our.
Maybe if we get enough people interested.
I think when you run an organization, this is not my organization. If you ask me what's my ideal way of doing, I definitely have my ideal way of doing run a monastery. Unfortunately, I try my best already. That's what I can say.
Well, you're doing pretty well.
Actually, in the past, in our monastery, we don't have this kind of meditation. We don't have meditation. Since I went to the monastery, in the joint monastery, I started with meditation. I try to encourage and this and that. I don't know how to tell you. Don't believe that all monks and nuns they like meditation. Not necessarily. Okay.
But if we can maybe get some people interested and we present it to Chungyan Monastery, I mean, you would be open to.
I would suggest you if you have $1 billion, then that will work.
Set up a new.
Do you have a suggestion?
Who wants to do it?
Right?
Who wants Satipatthana?
If you tell them that I'm $1 billion, so you do it or not, you don't do it, I will just open another one next to you. It's not that easy. This is what you see, the world is like that. That's how I see the suffering. So you cannot think that, oh, I want to do this. Unless I'm a Buddha, I have a soul power. That's why we always talk the Buddha have a great merit. Because even though he also feel some other difficulty, but it's not that easy. Firstly, it's that everybody had to agree with you what you should do in the correct way. But actually nowadays, I know very well if I want to do business, we don't have to teach this. We do some science and text and then say that you give you a wonderful life, happy, joyful, and then you charge them. Every time you come in, you will have a good energy go back, That's a very good business. I know how to run this kind of business. Unfortunately, I don't run business. Really. I guarantee one day, and then I have a good accommodation. Any type of food you can order, Imagine. What a wonderful, right? Okay, I don't want to expose my business skill now. As I say, actually, we are reading this class is really serious, as I say. Even though we want to make it lightly, this is a very serious tactic. And the Buddha said that very clearly, only when you practice this, if you really want to out of samsara, that's it. You don't have any other way. But you may have different technique, as I say, but you don't out of these 4 foundation of mindfulness. So, but you might be thinking this is a Stravakayana said that. It's not. Even the Chinese so-called Mahayana, I'm talking about the Greek master in China in the old days, not nowadays. In the old days, during the 10 years, they also said, if you want to talk about liberation, 4 foundation of mindfulness. But of course, if you just want to have a good marriage to become a Buddha, so you might be practice many things because you still want to a little remain the life, reincarnate again and again to build up, the great marriage like a Buddha.
Doesn't the I don't know any place that does the Satipatthana retreat.
Actually, no. Depends. Also, there are certain places they do Satipatthana in a different way. For example, like in Goenka, also have a different technique. But that technique, they don't really. There are lots of elements. It's not.
Yeah, missing.
Not necessarily similar to this. Yeah. But you cannot say they are not practicing Satipatthana. They say they are practicing Satipatthana.
Satipatthana is something that you do like from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep. It's an ongoing. It's not just sitting.
Yeah, that's why the Satipatthana have to do. Usually they learn like the way that we know. You have to learn that. Yeah, you need to live. We should be end class now. Yeah, good. So it's like they also have to do walking meditation and reclining meditation. So that's why it depends on people's preference. I myself would prefer that we'll teach more like that also. You don't have to really learn very sophisticated way also. There's another, like a Sayadaw, like Pao Sayadaw, for example, and he teach much more Abhidhamma way. That's too sophisticated, especially for lay persons, unless you really have a lot of time.
Well,
and
especially if you're on a retreat and you're trying to do the practice.
No, that's why I say that's another question, story. Actually, there are some technique you can all the time apply to the life. Some technique you really you always have to maintain highly alert. And that which is, especially if you have to go to work, not only you, even including our monk, always have to care of this unnecessary thing, these people, that people gossiping, that people, or you just really don't know what to do. So don't think that the monk and the nuns are always purified, okay? So I never believe that when after, but it's that's why I say I always tell the people when a layperson actually what a layperson is supposed to the monks and nuns, not asking the monks and nuns to serve you. Actually, you provide them the good place to practice, right? So that then you have a more higher standard of practice. But people don't see that now. Normally, no. Anyway, let's end the class today. And then we will have you will have a long break. At least now you know the Chinese version of 14 steps of the meditation. So if you meditate, if in one day you see some organs, you see your breath. Don't be surprised. You should be very happy about that. And at least you know you're happy about that. Okay. And then also at least try to observe your body all the time. Follow the first steps and second step. Then that is actually one of the very important way to practice your mindfulness also. Even though you don't slide on a small thing, think, oh, this is just a small thing. I need a big one, I want the organs, okay? But that's the small thing when you collect together, that's why the Buddha say, the wholesome thing, like a drop of water, when you collect, it becomes the full of a vase of water, right? The same way. So, and then we will have one class in December, I think, but it will be online, okay?
What's the online line?
because I will be in China, I will be talking to class from online, and then somebody will set up over here. You can see me on the screen.
Where do we sign in?
You come here. Some people, unless you, yeah. So they would go online, yeah. Or if you don't come here, you go online at your home, okay. I think they will let you know about that later, okay. Because that would be, I think, in the middle of the second week maybe, second week of December. So during that time, anyway, have a nice day, yeah. Do the transfer marriage.
Akasattha ca bhummattha deva naga mahiddhika punyang tang anumodittva cirang rakkantu sasanang cirang rakkantu desanang cirang rakkantu mang parang.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Oh, it's 15 minutes.
Went to the teacher.
Well, thank you. Sure, so.